to the Strandalong Diaries. This is episode 2 of my odyssey into the world of Latvian Mittens for the Sockmatician Strandalong, which is running through October this year. Now, contrary to what you may have thought from the first episode, I haven't actually cast them on yet, and I've been working on other things, so I'm a little bit late to my own party, it seems. However, I am now endeavouring, a little bit awkwardly, to cast on for my Latvian mitten kit. Now, I've decided to go for the fringe option. There is an option with notches, which is like a sort of picot edging, and I didn't like that so much. I've gone to go for the fringe because it acts as a good wind baffle on the sleeves, which I quite like the idea of. But it's a little bit tricky, and I have to say the instructions that I'm trying to work from are a little like watching the Bake Off and watching them do the technical challenge, where they only get given about 1 in 3 instructions. I don't feel I've got all the information I need in order to create this fringe effectively. So I've done quite a lot of looking on YouTube, and I don't seem to be able to find any videos at all that match what the instructions in the pattern seem to be telling me. I've also, because I'm me, I've decided to cast on like a harlequin fringe. So I've got 3 stitches of yellow and 3 stitches of red, followed by 3 stitches of yellow and 3 stitches of red. That's just to make things a little bit more awkward for myself. So I'm just going to do this little setup row, and I'm going to jump right in. So I've now cast on my first row, and I've knit the first actual row. And it says here, start the cuff with either the fringes or the notches. Cast on the necessary amount of stitches. Well, I'm going for 72 stitches, which I think will work with my wrist size and gauge. First, work the first row in purl stitch, which I've done. Now, this is the bit that kind of scares me a bit. Wind the yarn onto your left finger and scoop it up with your right needle. Extract your finger and pull the yarn through. That's it. When all the fringe is knitted, turn the knitting to the right direction. Knit 1 row in knit stitch, 1 row in purl stitch, keep the knitting clockwise. Now, I'm a little bit scared by this because it does seem to suggest that I should be casting on flat and working a row. So it's not talking about rounds, it's talking about rows. Right, I will admit I'm getting a little bit frustrated with this. This whole process is not very calming. I seem to have 2 sets of instructions that seem to completely argue with each other. It says here we've got either the fringe, so that's that section, and then we've got the notches, which I don't want to do, so start the cuff with either the fringe or the notches. So do I start here, or do I start down here? Because this is step 1. Step 1 is about calculating the size, and then casting on is here. So is that separate to casting on here? Cast on the necessary amount of stitches, or using any method, cast on the total amount of stitches and leave them on 1 needle. Then it says work 1 round of K2P2, dividing the stitches equally onto 4 needles, bind the free thread together with the working needle so there's no gap. So I don't know whether I'm supposed to cast on fringe-like and then join in the round, or whether I'm supposed to, this section, start working it as if it were fringe. It really doesn't make much sense. When all the fringe is knitted, turn the knitting to the right direction, whatever that is. Knit 1 row in knit stitch, 1 row in purl stitch, keep the knitting clockwise. Really, I am at a loss. Right, well, I'm making this up as I go along. I don't think I'm really following the instructions fully, but I do have something that's starting to look a bit like a fringe. It's incredibly unstable. It's really, really fiddly. I'm not enjoying it a great deal, I have to say. I'm really looking forward to getting on with the actual body of these mittens. But as for this bit, who knows? I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to abandon the red and yellow idea, because I think all of my strands are actually on the wrong side. I'm really not sure. But I'm going to have another go. I'm going to start again, and I'll show you what it looks like later on. Well, I've now completed the fringe for the first mitten. It's still flat. I haven't joined it in the round yet. I'm going to do that on my next row, and it's I like it. I like the striping on it, which is great. I like the texture of it. I think it's going to be really exciting. Let's hope it's stable enough to all stay together and see what it looks like. The only problem is it might be a little long. It's filling up my kind of 8-inch needle, and I'm assuming that's just because of the extra bulk from all the extra stitches put in with the fringe itself. Now that I'm back down to 72, I'm hoping it will shrink back down to a size that will fit my wrist properly. We'll have to see. Well, I've joined in the round. I've knitted a few rows. I've added the extra colours according to the colour chart. And guess what? It turns out I can't count. I don't have 72 stitches on the needles. I've only got 66. I have no idea how that happened. You can see there's only 12 there. There's 18 on all the other three sides. And 66 is not divisible by 4. So I could either fudge it, or I can rip it out and start again, and I know I'm going to have to rip it out and start again. The reason I say that is because even though I haven't started any patterning here, there's just no way I'm going to be able to make the pattern work for 66 stitches. I was hoping just to wrap it round. Also, if it is 72, it might be a little bit large. My hand goes in there very, very easily. And I think that's going to be huge. So if I add 6 more stitches, it's not going to be good at all. So I'm going to come down to 64 stitches and try again. So this is attempt number 2. Actually, it was no bad thing. It's good to get a little bit of practice, I think. I found the fringe a lot easier to accomplish this time round, and it didn't take me anywhere near as long as the first time. Clearly that's because there are slightly fewer stitches. I've now gone for a 60 stitch mitten rather than 72. It was just enormous. I think this is going to work out very, very nicely. So I've done, as per the chart here, I've done these, it's charted as if I was doing the notches, as you can see down the bottom here. So I've done these 4 green rows and these 2 black rows, and next row I'm ready to start the colour work in earnest so I can fully join the Strandalong party. So I will see you on the next episode and see how I get on. Good luck with yours.